There is something nobody tells you about forgiveness. They make it sound like a door you walk through, like once you decide to forgive someone, once you say the words, or feel the feeling, or finally stop being angry, everything on the other side is lighter, cleaner, free. But that is not what forgiveness feels like. Not really. Not when the hurt was deep. Not when the person who caused the pain never came back to acknowledge it. Not when you had to forgive someone who never once asked you to. And yet, you are here, still trying to make sense of something that was never supposed to make sense. Still sitting with a feeling you were told you should be done with by now. Still asking yourself why it still comes up, why it still hurts, why forgiveness feels less like a release and more like a door you have to keep opening every single morning. That is not a flaw in you. That is just what forgiveness actually looks like. When you are doing it honestly, forgiveness, real forgiveness, is not a moment. It is not a decision you make once and then you are done. It is something you come back to again and again on the days when a song plays and you are suddenly back in that room. On the days when someone uses the same tone of voice and your whole body tightens. On the days when you think you are over it and then you are not. You forgive them and then the memory surfaces and you have to forgive them again. Nobody warns you about that part. Nobody tells you that forgiveness is not a single act of will, but a practice, something you return to, the way you return to breathing after you have been holding your breath, because that is what unprocessed pain does. It holds your breath for you. It waits. It is patient in a way that we are not always patient with ourselves. And then, when you least expect it, it exhales, and you feel it all over again. This is what people get wrong. They think forgiving someone means you have decided what happened to you did not matter, that you are okay with it, that you have erased it, that you are choosing somehow to pretend. But forgiveness has never been about pretending. Forgiveness is not amnesia. It is not a reset button. It is not you handing someone a clean slate, as though the years of hurt never left a mark on you. The mark is real. The years are real. The version of you that existed before the hurt, the one who trusted more easily, who opened without hesitation, who had not yet learned to brace, that version is real too. And it is okay to grieve her. It is okay to miss who you were before you needed to forgive anyone at all. Forgiveness is something else entirely. It is the moment you decide that what happened to you will no longer have the power to run your life. It is the quiet, private act of saying, I am not going to let this be the thing that defines me. I am not going to carry this like a stone anymore. Not because they deserve my peace, but because I do. And that distinction matters more than most people realize. For a long time, many of us were taught that forgiveness was a gift we gave to other people, that it was generous, that it was selfless, that the bigger the hurt, the more noble the forgiveness. But what if that was backwards? What if forgiveness was never about the other person at all? What if it was always, only ever, about you, about your nervous system finally being allowed to rest, about your mind being given permission to stop replaying the same scene, looking for a different ending that is never going to come, about your heart being released from the obligation of carrying something that was never yours to carry in the first place. There is a difference between releasing someone and trusting them again, a difference between wishing someone well from a distance and letting them back into your life. Forgiveness does not require closeness. It does not require a conversation. It does not require them to even know it happened. You can forgive someone completely and still not speak to them. You can forgive someone completely and still know without a shadow of doubt that they are not safe for you. You can forgive someone completely and still feel the ache of what they took from you. That ache is not unforgiveness. That ache is grief, and grief is allowed. Grief does not have a deadline. Nobody gets to hand you a calendar and tell you that by this date you should be done feeling the weight of what happened to you. Grief moves at the speed of the soul, and the soul does not rush. I want you to hear this. You are allowed to grieve the thing that happened to you, even after you have made peace with it. You are allowed to feel the loss, even when you have stopped blaming. You are allowed to remember. Even when the anger is gone, you are allowed to sit with sadness that has no target anymore. Sadness that is not pointed at anyone. That is just sad. Just the quiet, heavy truth that something happened to you that should not have happened, and that you deserved better, and that you did not get it. That is allowed. All of that is allowed. Memory is not bitterness. Remembering is not holding a grudge. Knowing what someone did and choosing not to expose yourself to them again is not unforgiveness. It is wisdom. It is self-respect. It is you finally learning what the experience was trying to teach you all along. Because here is the thing about pain. Pain is not just pain. Pain is information. It tells you what you value. It tells you what you needed and did not receive. It tells you where your boundaries were crossed before you even knew you had the right to have them. It tells you what kind of love you deserve by showing you exactly what you should never accept again. And that knowledge, the knowledge that comes from having survived something hard, that is not a burden, that is a compass. As long as you do not let the pain become the only thing you are, as long as you do not let the wound become your identity, as long as you remember that you are not just someone who was hurt, you are someone who is healing. There is a difference, and it matters. There is a story many of us were told, directly or indirectly, in churches, in families, in quiet expectations. The story goes like this. A good woman forgives and forgets. A strong woman moves on. A healed woman has no more wounds. And so we learned to perform forgiveness before we had actually found it. We smiled at people who hurt us. We stayed in rooms where we did not feel safe. We called them at Christmas. We said we were fine. We said we had moved on. We said it so many times that we almost believed it ourselves. Almost, because the body always knows. The body keeps the score even when the mind has learned to look away. The tightness in the chest when their name comes up, the way sleep becomes difficult around certain anniversaries, the way certain smells or sounds or times of year bring something up from somewhere deep that you thought you had already dealt with. The body does not lie, and it does not forget, but there is a cost to performed forgiveness. When you forgive someone in public, before you have done the work in private, before you have sat with the anger, felt the full weight of what was done to you, let yourself be sad and afraid and furious. You do not heal, you just bury, and buried things do not die. They grow roots. They come up in your next relationship, in the way you flinch, in the way you go quiet when you mean to speak, in the way you leave before you can be left, in the way you say yes when every part of you is saying no. They come up in the way you choose partners, in the patterns you repeat, without understanding why you keep ending up in the same place, with different people wearing different faces. They come up in the way you parent, if you are a mother, in the fears you try not to pass on, in the love you work so hard to give differently than the love you received. Buried things always find a way out. The only question is whether you choose the way or whether the wound chooses for you. Real forgiveness starts in the dark. It starts with you, alone, finally letting yourself say, "That was not okay. What happened to me was not okay. I deserved better. I did not cause this. I did not deserve this. And I am going to stop pretending that I am not still carrying it." That honesty, that quiet, private admission, is the beginning of real forgiveness, not the performance of it, the actual thing. It might sound like anger at first, and that is okay. Anger is not the opposite of forgiveness. Anger is often the beginning of it. Anger is what comes up when you finally stop lying to yourself about how much something hurt. Let it come. Let it be loud if it needs to be loud. Let it be ugly if it needs to be ugly. You do not have to be graceful in the private moments. You do not have to be composed in the rooms where nobody is watching. Feel it all the way through, because the only way out is through, and it is slow. It is not linear. There will be mornings when you wake up and you feel free, genuinely, unexpectedly free, like something has shifted in the night, and the weight you have been carrying is just gone. And there will be mornings, sometimes years later, when it comes back, when you see their name or pass a familiar street or smell something that takes you straight back, and the grief is fresh again, raw in a way that surprises you, in a way that makes you wonder if you have made any progress at all. You have. That does not mean you have failed. That does not mean the forgiveness was not real. It means you are human. It means the thing that happened to you mattered. It means your heart is still alive. A heart that has truly closed down does not feel grief. It feels nothing. Your grief is proof that you are still here, still open, still capable of being moved, still choosing, even now, even after everything, to remain someone who feels. That is extraordinary, even when it does not feel like it, especially when it does not feel like it. Forgiveness is not a destination, it is a direction, a way of moving through the world that says, "I refuse to let what was done to me turn me into someone I am not. I refuse to become hard where I was once open. I refuse to become cruel where I was once tender. I refuse to pass this pain forward." That is what forgiveness actually is. It is a choice to protect who you are becoming from what was done to you in the past. It has nothing to do with them. It never did. And I know that can feel unfair. I know there is a part of you that wants them to know, wants them to understand what they took from you, wants them to feel even a fraction of what you felt. That is human. That desire for acknowledgement, for accountability, for someone to finally say, "I see what I did. I am sorry. You deserved better." Some people get that, and it helps, but many of us never will. Many of us will wait for an apology that is never going to come from someone who is not capable of giving it, or who does not believe they owe it, or who has rewritten the story so completely that in their version, they are the one who was wronged. And we can spend years in that waiting room, putting our healing on hold until the person who hurt us decides to show up and give us permission to be okay. Or we can leave, not them ourselves. We can leave the waiting room. We can walk out and decide that our peace is not contingent on their conscience. That is the hardest kind of forgiveness, the kind you extend to someone who never asked for it, who may never deserve it, who may never even know you gave it. And it is also the most freeing because it means your healing belongs to you, fully, without condition, without waiting. Forgiving someone does not mean you trust them. It does not mean you return to them. It does not mean you pretend the scar is not there. The scar is there. You can feel it, and it is yours. And the fact that you are still here, still open, still trying, still loving, despite everything that left that scar, that is not weakness. That is one of the bravest things a person can be. So if you are somewhere in the middle right now, if you have forgiven someone in your heart, but you still cry sometimes when you think about it, if you have let go of the anger, but not yet the grief, if you have moved on, but not forgotten, you are not doing it wrong. You are doing the real thing, the slow, honest, unglamorous version that nobody makes videos about. The kind of forgiveness that does not announce itself, that does not need an audience, that just quietly, steadily chooses peace. Not for them, for you, always, for you. And that choice, the quiet, daily, unremarkable choice to move toward peace instead of toward pain, is not small. It is everything. Gentle pause. Music fades slightly. If this found you today, I hope it gave you permission to stop performing your healing and start living it. You do not have to be over it to be free. You just have to stop letting it own you. You are allowed to still be in it. You are allowed to not have arrived yet. You are allowed to be somewhere in the middle, further than you were, not yet where you want to be, and to call that enough, because it is enough. You are enough, right here, right now, in the middle of it, and you are already doing that, just by being here, just by listening, just by choosing one more time to keep going. That is not nothing, that is everything.